The Legend of the Eight Immortals.
Chapter 18: The Golden Mountain and the Debt of the Broken Bone. Long ago, in the middle of the great Yangtze River, there was no land, only a vast, swirling expanse of water. But legends say that a mountain did not grow there by nature. It was raised by the power of virtue and a broken heart. During the Zhou dynasty, there lived a virtuous woman known as Lady Ma. She was kind and patient, but her life was a storm. She had married a poor scholar surnamed Gu, whose stepmother, Lady Yu, was a woman with a heart like flint and a tongue like a viper. Scholar Gu was a man of letters, yet he was caught in the iron grip of blind filial piety. He knew his wife was a saint, but to please his mother he dared not offer a single word of comfort. If he saw Lady Ma looking sorrowful, he would even rebuke her, demanding she hide her tears so as not to offend his mother's eyes. The situation grew dire as the stepmother turned on her own son, shrieking that unless he helped her strike his wife, he was a disobedient traitor who favored a wife over a mother. Driven to the edge of despair, the couple lived a ghostly existence. While the stepmother dined on fine meals, the young couple often went days without food. In the freezing winter, while the mother was kept warm, the scholar and Lady Ma sat huddled in rags, their faces gaunt like starving spirits. The scholar's heart bled, yet he remained paralyzed by the heavy chains of tradition. Realizing they could not survive another winter, and fearing for his aging mother's future, the scholar made a choice that was a sacrifice in itself. He decided to leave home to find work as a merchant. In those days, a scholar dropping to become a merchant was seen as a shameful loss of status, but he had no other way to provide. On the night before he left, the couple sat in the dark, unable to speak. "Just be dutiful and filial," the scholar finally whispered. "When I have success, I will return for you." Lady Ma, pitying her husband for the burden he carried on her account, urged him to go, hoping the distance would bring peace. After the scholar left, Lady Ma took on the roles of both wife and son. Life was crueler than ever, but she worked tirelessly, doing whatever she could to find money and food for Lady Yu. Yet, when she managed to provide, the stepmother's heart remained like stone. She began to whisper a deadly lie, that Lady Ma was earning money through dishonorable affairs with other men. When these words reached Lady Ma, the insult was 10 times more painful than all the years of beatings. She collapsed in grief and fainted for a long time, but the stepmother only mocked her, calling it a fake death to scare people. Lady Ma wished to die to prove her innocence, but she remembered her husband's parting words. "If I die," she thought, "who will care for his aging mother?" For the sake of her husband's vow, she swallowed the bitterest of insults and continued to serve. Eventually, the scholar's wages arrived, making Lady Yu wealthy. No longer needing a daughter-in-law to toil for her, she saw Lady Ma only as a thorn in her eye, and secretly sold her to a local bully known as the Living Tiger. The next morning, Lady Yu did the unthinkable. She spoke with a warm, gentle smile. "My dear, I dreamed the river god is angry over an old vow. I am too frail to travel, so you must go to the temple in my place." Lady Ma was stunned by this sudden grace. Even when she saw a grand carriage and a crowd of men waiting, far too much for a short trip, she remained silent. Though suspicion gnawed at her, years of obedience won out. She bowed her head and stepped into the carriage, already sensing that death might be her only exit. 3 miles in, the carriage veered away from the temple road. Lady Ma pulled the curtain aside. "This is not the way to the river god," she said, her voice steady. The drivers laughed. "We are from the Liu estate. Your mother-in-law sold you to Lord Liu. She warned us you might struggle, but look at you, so quiet and calm." Inside, Lady Ma's heart raced like 17 or 18 wild deer crashing against her ribs. She was alone, no parents, no home, and no path back. As the carriage reached the river, a magnificent wedding boat waited. 2 bridesmaids stepped forward to assist the new bride. Lady Ma, appearing strangely composed, leaned on their shoulders as they walked to the rail. But in a flash of desperate strength, she shoved both women aside and leaped into the freezing currents. "I would rather be a ghost of the Gu family," she cried as the river swallowed her, "than the wife of a living tiger." The wedding party erupted in chaos. Men dove and poles lashed at the water, but the great river was too vast and the currents too deep. After a frantic, hollow search, they had no choice but to return empty-handed. When the living tiger heard he had lost his prize to the waves, he roared in a fury of disappointment, lashing out at his servants. But the river kept its secret, and Lady Ma was gone. After leaping into the river, Lady Ma was swept downstream by the surging waves. Nearby, an old Daoist, over 100 years old, was sailing across the river. He caught sight of a drifting figure, unsure if life still remained within her. Driven by compassion, he cried, "I must save her!" Yet he was a man of ancient discipline who had never touched a woman to maintain his spiritual purity. As the currents raced, he struggled with a desperate dilemma: how to pull her from the waves without breaking his sacred vows. He grabbed a long pole and reached out, hooking it onto her, but in his frantic effort to haul her up, a sickening crack echoed across the water. He had accidentally snapped the woman's leg bone. Before he could do more, a massive wave flipped his boat. The Daoist managed to swim to shore, but the woman vanished into the deep. The old man was haunted to his core. He had spent a century seeking holiness, only to end his days by mutilating a person's body. The guilt of the broken bone drove him into a madness of regret. Within months, he withered away and died. Beneath the swirling depths, the soul of Lady Ma was received at the Crystal Palace. The Dragon King, honoring her extraordinary virtue, rose from his throne to greet her. He spoke with the deep authority of the tides. "Do not weep, noble soul," the Dragon King said. "You are not a mere mortal, but a celestial exile sent to this realm for a time. And you are not alone. The old Daoist who tried to save you shares your fate. In his desperate act of mercy, he unintentionally broke your bone, a sin of mutilating a physical vessel. For this, the laws of karma decree that in his next life he must walk with a broken body." Lady Ma's spirit trembled with sorrow. Must a man of such kindness suffer a shadow on his future because of me? "It is the balance of the universe," the Dragon King replied. "But listen well, though his body may be shattered, his spiritual merit remains pure. A broken vessel can still hold the most divine nectar. He is destined for godhood, regardless of his form." Time passed, and news reached the Crystal Palace of her husband Gu. He had returned home successful, only to find his stepmother, Lady Yu, had recently passed away. Stricken by the grief of his wife's sacrifice, he cast all his gold and treasures into the river at the very spot she had vanished, and left the world behind to seek the Tao. The Dragon King summoned Lady Ma, saying, "The virtue of you and your husband have moved both gods and ghosts. Since he has entered the path of immortality, your own 1,000 years of cultivation are now complete. I shall soon petition for your reincarnation. To honor your shared devotion, I have commanded the river god to raise a solitary mountain from the essence of the gold your husband cast away. This decree was issued long ago. Its fulfillment is near." Lady Ma bowed in gratitude. Indeed, a mountain later emerged from the heart of the river. Those who knew its origin called it Jinshan, the Golden Mountain. Over the centuries, it grew higher and its grounds grew wider, remaining to this day a famous landmark of China. But that is a story for another time. The soul of Lady Ma, carrying the divine decree of the Dragon King, returned to the mortal realm. Because her heart remained tethered to the Golden Mountain, she was reborn at its very foot into the house of the He family. From the moment of her birth, she was no ordinary child. She was born awake, her spiritual clarity unclouded by the veil of rebirth. As an infant in her mother's arms, she instinctively refused meat, and as she grew, her only desire was the path of the Tao. Her parents, He Jie and his wife, were souls of great kindness. Seeing their daughter's divine nature, they named her Lan Shen, the orchid immortal. By the age of 7, Zhou Tian Xuan Nu, the mysterious lady of the 9 heavens, descended in disguise to grant her the sacred secrets of breath, mind, and the flying sword. Yet Lan Shen had one lingering obsession. She told the goddess, "I cannot ascend until I find the Daoist who was ruined because of me. I must wait for him to find his path before I take my own." The goddess sighed in admiration. "This is destiny. That old Daoist is now reborn in Henan as Li Xuan. He is destined to be a disciple of the Grand Master Lao Jun. Since your will is set, wait for him. I shall send him to find you when the time is right." And so, the girl who would one day be known as Immortal Woman He waited, her heart a calm lake, reflecting 1,000 years of history. Hundreds of miles away in Luoyang, a son was born to the noble Li family. They named him Li Xuan. His birth was heralded by a room filled with celestial fragrance and a dream of a Daoist entering the mother's womb. Li Xuan grew into a brilliant, handsome youth, yet he had no interest in power or office. He spoke constantly of a past life. "I was once an old seeker," he told his bewildered parents. "I did no evil, yet in my final hour I caused a great injury to a woman while trying to save her. This broken bone is the greatest sorrow of my soul. I must find her. I must repent before her, or my Tao will never be complete." One day, the air in the Li estate began to hum. Tai Bai Jingxing, the spirit of the great white gold star, descended from the clouds on the orders of the Grand Master Laojin. As he landed within the courtyard, Li Xuan's parents and the entire household were struck with awe and terror. They fell to their knees, lighting incense and bowing their heads to the ground to welcome the celestial visitor. Tai Bai approached the young Li Xuan and laughed, taking the boy's hand. "1,000 years have passed," Tai Bai said. "Do you still remember me?" With 3 sharp taps on the back of the neck, Li Xuan's mind exploded. The fog of mortality vanished, and 9 lifetimes of memory rushed back like a tidal wave. He saw the river, the pole, and the woman. "Master!" Li Xuan cried, falling to his knees. "Save me from this sea of suffering!" Tai Bai smiled a cold, divine smile. "Immortality is not bought so cheaply, Li Xuan. If it were easy, gods and mortals would be one and the same. To reach the heavens, you must first endure the fire." "I will endure anything," Li Xuan vowed. "I cast aside the red dust of this world without regret." In that instant, a blinding golden light filled the room, so bright that no eye could look upon it. When the light faded, the chamber was empty. The handsome scholar and Tai Bai were gone, leaving only the lingering scent of sandalwood. The debt of the broken bone has set the wheels of fate in motion. Li Xuan has vanished into the heavens to begin his trials. But how will the handsome scholar become the limping beggar we know today? And when will he finally stand before the woman who has waited 1,000 years for his apology? Join us next time for the transformation of the limping immortal.